Oblivion is one of my favorite games of all time, but if we're being honest, the combat isn't all that great by today's standards, but that doesn't mean it can't be improved. With just a handful of mods, we can make fights feel faster, more responsive, and way more satisfying by adding features we've come to expect from modern RPGs, all while keeping that classic Oblivion feel intact. Let's start with Ultra Combat, hands down the most complete and well-integrated combat overhaul released for Oblivion so far. It's designed to make fights feel skill-based, responsive and cinematic. It does so by refining existing mechanics and layering in new ones that blend seamlessly into the game's combat system. First, let's take a look at how blocking has been reworked. Ultra Combat introduces a perfect block mechanic, meaning if you block within a certain window, you'll take from 50 to 90% less damage based on your block skill. It will slow time for 2 seconds and briefly stagger the enemy, providing a small opening to land a response attack, which provides a damage bonus based on how close your timing was to the perfect frame. That bonus ranges from 5% up to 15%. It rewards skillful gameplay and changes how you approach combat by encouraging you to stay in close, read your enemy and time your blocks. It makes fights feel more engaging and reactive. On top of that, blocking can now also be used to cancel your attacks. If you didn't know, in Oblivion, once you commit to an attack, you're locked into it until the animation finishes. Now you can cancel mid-animation, either by blocking or dodging within a specific window after the attack starts, or shortly after your weapon lands. Combat becomes faster paced and far more responsive as a result. The cancel windows are tailored to each weapon type. Daggers, for example, have a much faster recovery time, letting you cancel your attack shortly after it lands, much quicker than you could with a warhammer. This means lighter weapons feel more agile and fluid, while heavier weapons still demand precise timing and commitment. Ultra Combat also makes several changes to dodging. You no longer need a block before you can dodge. Instead, the mod gives you 2 new options. You can dodge by double tapping a movement key, or by pressing a dedicated dodge key that you can assign yourself. Whichever method you prefer, both make dodging feel more responsive and help speed up the flow of combat in a noticeable way. Dodging now comes with invulnerability frames too, but they work a little differently than in other games. During a dodge, there's a 0.4 second window where you gain resistance to normal weapon damage. This resistance scales with your acrobatic skill, with higher levels eventually granting full immunity to physical damage during that brief window. Fatigue cost for dodging is also tied to your acrobatic skill, meaning the higher your skill, the less stamina you use when dodging. And that's not all, perfect dodging adds another layer. If you dodge an enemy's attack within a 0.2 second window right before their hit lands, you'll trigger a perfect dodge. When this happens, time is briefly slowed. You'll gain a 30% speed boost, and if you have a high enough acrobatic skill, you'll gain an invulnerability frame during your dodge. Also, just like with perfect blocking, landing a response attack during a brief window after a perfect dodge grants a damage bonus based on how close your timing was to the perfect frame, rewarding sharp reactions and precise timing. It also works surprisingly well with range builds. Since you're often on the back foot kiting enemies and looking for space, perfect dodging gives you another way to create distance and get off another spell or arrow. While we're on the topic, Ultra Combat also makes a few changes to Archery. Once your marksman skill reaches level 50, you'll unlock instant draw, which lets you fire another arrow immediately after shooting, significantly increasing your fire rate and making range combat feel smoother and faster paced. On top of that, attack cancelling has been implemented for bows. Dodging while drawing your bow will interrupt the animation, allowing you to reposition on the fly. You're no longer stuck in place or caught in a slow recovery, which makes bow combat feel much more responsive. Furthermore, the mod makes a number of changes to headshots. First off, landing a headshot now triggers a brief slow-mo, making your well-placed shots feel much more cinematic. Enemies will also stagger when struck in the head, giving you the perfect opportunity to line up a follow-up shot while they're off balance. Additionally, headshot damage now scales with your marksman and sneak skills, providing a clean way to make progression feel more meaningful. Also included is Ultra Wheel, which simply slows down time when you open the quick access wheel, giving you a bit more breathing room to select the right spell or item in the heat of the moment. Combat's feeling much better already, but there's still something missing. You may have noticed that when your weapon hits an enemy's body, it feels like you're slicing through nothing. There's no real sense of impact or resistance. The optional Hitstop feature in Ultra Combat fixes this by introducing a brief slowdown in time whenever you land a hit. This small change adds a noticeable sense of weight and physicality to each strike. This feature is disabled by default, so if you want to use it, you have to enable it in the mod's config file. Here you can customize nearly every aspect of the mod, including timings, damage multipliers, stamina costs, and more. And that just about wraps up what Ultra Combat brings to the table. So if you're looking for a stable, Well-rounded combat overhaul that's genuinely fun to play. This one's absolutely worth checking out. Now let's move on to weapon animations. Morihaus might overhauls every two-handed weapon animation in Oblivion Remastered. The redesigns focus on improving flow, adding variety and making each weapon feel distinct while keeping everything grounded in realism. Great swords have seen the most dramatic changes. In vanilla Oblivion, they're heavily outclassed by their one-hand counterparts due to slow animations and long recovery times. Now the standard combo is noticeably faster and has greater reach, making it a much more viable weapon choice. The forward power attack has been replaced with a sharp thrust, while side and back power attacks have been lightly retouched to smoothen transitions without losing their original feel. On top of that, you can choose between two different idle stances to suit your style. For Warhammers, the normal combo has been reworked to utilize downward vertical swings, which makes more logical sense for a Warhammer. The power attacks have been cleaned up as well. Battle axes follow a similar trend. They stay close to the vanilla style but with tighter timing and refined swing arcs that make them feel much more precise and satisfying to use. Additionally, walk, run, draw, sheath, block, and stagger animations have all been redone to match the new animations and idle stances, tying the whole overhaul together. Now let's shift our attention to longswords. All the power attacks for longswords are basically the same sideways slash. The mod Longsword Animation Overhaul changes that by replacing the standstill, forward, and backward power attacks. Each directional input now triggers a distinct motion. Standing still gives a downward slash, forward becomes a thrust, backwards delivers an upward slash, and left and right retain the original sideways swing. The first-person animations have also been modified to match the third-person ones. Additionally, the normal attack chain has been improved, ending the combo with a forward thrusting attack. We also have a bit more anticipation Shortsword Animations. This mod reworks the Shortsword moveset to be faster and more fluid. The final strike now transitions smoothly back into the first, making attack chains flow better and feel more seamless. So if you're a Shortsword user, I wouldn't overlook this one. The mod author behind these animation mods has plans to eventually improve every moveset in the game, and has recently released an animation rig, which is a good sign for the community in developing more movesets in the future. Many of the mods we've discussed so far will undoubtedly make the game easier. One way to balance this out is by making enemy AI more challenging. That's where responsive combat AI comes in. This mod completely overhauls the combat AI to make fights more engaging and less predictable. Originally, enemy AI was sluggish, with long idle pauses between attacks, making combat feel slow and sometimes even boring. Responsive combat AI fixes that by drastically reducing those idle times. Enemies now chain their attacks consistently and fight like their lives are actually on the line. Enemies will also strafe more often, and have an increased chance to dodge your attacks, especially creatures that rely heavily on evasive maneuvers. On top of that, enemies now use power attacks and regular attacks more aggressively, meaning they're quicker to punish you if you stagger or make a mistake. Enemy block chances have also been increased, so enemies are better at defending themselves. This mod affects most animals and human enemies, making every encounter feel more dynamic and intense. An easy to overlook aspect in creating a good combat experience is the camera. The mod Improved Camera shifts the third-person camera to a more immersive, over-the-shoulder view, similar to what you'd see in games like God of War. Your character is positioned further to the left side of the screen, giving a clearer view of what's ahead of you. It's a huge upgrade for third-person archery, picking up objects, and of course melee combat, giving you better spatial awareness all around. I'd also recommend increasing the default FOV of 75 to something higher. Personally, I find 85 to be the sweet spot. It expands your vision noticeably without feeling exaggerated, and in first person lets you see more of your character's arms, which just looks better in my opinion. The in-game settings cap FOV at 100, but if you want to go beyond that, you can either enter a custom FOV value in the console, or use the Better FOV mod to unlock a wider range in the native menu, letting you push it all the way up to 140 if that's your thing. Next up is Unique Elemental Spells, a mod I covered in my last video. It overhauls elemental magic by giving each element a unique secondary effect. Much like the elemental effects seen in Skyrim, these are subtle additions aimed at adding utility and uniqueness between the different elements without significantly boosting their power. Fire spells now deal a small amount of burning damage over time. Frost spells temporarily drain the target's speed, and shock spells reduce magicka. The strength of these effects scale with your destruction mastery, making progression feel more rewarding, while still maintaining a reasonable balance. There's a ridiculous amount of other magic mods, but it's beyond the scope of this video, so let me know down in the comments if you'd be interested in seeing a video exclusively focused on magic. With that said, I'll have links to all the mods I covered down below if you want to try them out for yourself. Also, if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, thank you for watching.